What's going on, everybody? It is Sunday Fun Day. I know a lot of people probably coming in from watching their favorite team win, watching their favorite team lose. But y'all know what time it is. It is Spotlight Podcast time with your host, who? Me, Rain Rockstar, Mr. What he gonna do next? And tonight we're doing something a little bit different. We have a different guest. We're going to take a different approach, and we're going to all around be wild, learn, be taught and understand, because the person I am bringing to you today is not only an author, he's a teacher, a communicator. He talks to spirits and he helps people to be greater than what they are, as well as to understand what power they had or what a medium is. So today we're going to ask questions. We're going to talk about his book, growing up, the things that he went through in his life and everything else. So without further ado, I am going to bring in Mr. Daniel Jackson. How you doing, man?
Here I am. Yay, yay. Here I am. Doing good today. How about you, man?
I'm doing great, man. My team won today, so I have nothing to complain about. I'm alive and I'm well. I'm healthy.
Good, good. That's what we want to hear.
Definitely. Explain to my guests and everybody in the world and all the listeners what all you do.
I refer to myself as a spirit medium. I don't call myself psychic because when you call yourself psychics, people come up to you and say, "What am I thinking now?" And I don't have nothing to do with that. Yeah, when they say, "What am I thinking now?" I say, "I don't know what you're thinking, but everyone else thinks you're a moron." So, yeah, let it go. But I see spirit. I don't ever not see spirit throughout my life. I don't ever not see them ever. It never turns off. It never goes away. I don't just see people. I see dogs, cats, horses, cows, fish. I see other beings from other worlds. I see a lot of stuff that no one wants to see. It just doesn't go away. But I have seen them ever since I was 3 years old. My whole family was seeing them at that time because I'm from New Jersey and we lived in a little town that was next to the Delaware River and had a hospital on it and had it was a battlefield there. And so this is where the Hessians fought back in the 1700s. And so a lot of the families in that area were witnessing this type of thing. But it was by the time I was 17, my parents and I moved from New Jersey to Delaware, and I was the only one who was continuing to see them on a regular basis.
Okay. Um, it's a lot of spectators out there, speculators, and a lot of people rely on what I call TV, which is another word for the idiot box, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. The TV and movies have really screwed things up for people like me because most of the things that they tell you on TV and in movies is a bunch of BS. It's not the truth.
okay. So, and that's what I definitely want to converse about today, because when you watch a movie, a series, or whatever you want to call it, they can make it to where it seems like a spirit walk past you. They can make it to where you bump into them or you see them at a distance. When you actually see one from your eyes, because I want to visualize what you've seen. What is it like?
Well, like in the movies, they try to tell you that angels have wings and stuff like that. They don't. Most angels that I see or what I communicate with archangels, and that's who communicates with me all the time. Uh, but when I see them, they don't have wings. They don't have wings and shields and swords by any means. They're not. Most of the ones I see are not human. They don't look human. They are not human. But when I see spirit who do walk in front of me or walk past me. I see most spirit into what we would call the earthbound realm or the low energy realm, and I see them just standing around. They're not doing what you think they would be doing. They're not just standing around talking to each other. They actually do have clothes on, but all that is because they are pure energy at that point. They can manipulate themselves to look like anything they want to do. Um, but I see people standing around. I see them kissing, making out. I see them having sex. I see them doing a lot of things that you wouldn't think they would be doing. But they are just living a life that's uninterrupted now. They don't have to sleep, eat, breathe. They don't pay bills. They don't drive cars. They don't do any of that stuff. They just are where they are. But I see them as when I first see them, I get a quick flash of what they looked like before they had passed away, in their like regular clothes and what have you. And I would see, like I saw a little boy one time, and he was wearing a red and yellow striped shirt, and he had on sneakers, and he had red hair, and he had freckles on his face. So, but he wasn't very nice because he came up to me and said he wanted to punch me in the face. But yeah, they don't. They were in that lower energy realm. They are there because they are just like us. They still have their pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish, all that stuff. Uh, it's when you cross over into heaven that you let all that go, and you're no longer the person you are now. You are still you. You are just the best version of you. But yeah, so they're just walking around, and but again, I don't just see people. I see other beings all the time as well, and but everything that I see or is around me, whatever they talk to me, I hear it as English. Not all mediums can do that. Not all of them are able to do that, but they all speak to me in English. So even if I saw some beings one time that were standing in front of me. There were seven of them, and the only thing that I could equate it to what they look like would be if you've ever seen the movie Star Wars and Chewbacca, the Wookiee. That's what they look like. They look like seven of them. Some one was a little bit shorter than the other ones, but they were all talking to each other. And I had asked them if they wanted to cross over, and they said no. And they said we're fine, and they were they went on with their conversation. So I left them alone because it's like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I can talk to them about crossing over, but if they don't want to go, then I can't make them do it. So I move on to the next ones.
So in so many words, purgatory is real, but a different way than
No,
what is being portrayed.
no, there's no such thing as purgatory. No, they're not waiting around to go anywhere. They just are where they are because they chose to be there. When you pass away, you're going to stand up out of your body. You're going to take a look down and go, oh, I guess I don't need that anymore. You take a step to the left, you look to the right, and a light is going to turn on for you. Everybody gets a personal light. You either walk into that light or you don't, and you go either place by your own choice. So there's no actual purgatory, there's no hell. There are very bad negative energies there. There's no Satan and there's no devil. There's no one guy who's in charge of that place. That all those bad ones are in it for themselves, just like bad people here are in it for themselves. It's no different. But where you go is up to you, and it's your choice. So if you're in that low energy place, you're there because you either chose to go there, or for another reason you may have gotten lost, and then a lot of them just don't know that they have passed away. They know they feel different. They know they don't break bones anymore, but they when you step up out of your body, you still feel like yourself. So they absolutely are aware that they are what they are now because they're not walking through walls, they're just walking. So,
Oh,
but where they are, they're kind of aware of it. But again, some of them don't know that they've passed away because they still feel like themselves. And the reason for that is the ones who have not crossed over and are there, whatever age they die, they will remain that age, and they will remain that age forever because there's no space and time there. So they don't see any time passing. They see things change, but that's here. But the physical things here are kind of see through to them, so it doesn't really matter to them.
so are they on a loop where they constantly repeat how they died, or that's just again
No,
fabricated?
that's another fabricated thing from TV. Yeah, no, what a bunch of bullshit that is. That's yeah, yeah. It's so much bull crap. It's unbelievable the things that they want to tell you. No, they're not looping their entire death over and over again. They're not being tortured by anybody. Although there are negative energies that will try to. The negative ones have to have more energy, no, more negative energy to survive where they are. So they have to get it from the negative ones as well as they can come through into this realm and collect it off the negative people here.
Okay. Do you have people contact you to say, "Hey, I want to see if my house is haunted," or have you been to one that's proclaimed to be haunted and it actually was, and you went through and conversed with the spirits, or help cleanse it in that manner or something like that? Or you just kind of went through to see for yourself, is it what they say it is?
Lie number 2. Here we go. So no one can actually cleanse your house. They can't. You can't make a negative energy go away if he doesn't want to go away. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to put up a cross and make him go away? Because the cross is a form of punishment. It has nothing to do with Jesus. They punished Jesus by putting him on that. So that is a form of punishment. What are you going to do? Put a Bible up? Well, the Bible has pedophilia in it, has rape in it, it has murder in it. So you think that's going to make a negative energy go away because it's a book of lies and deception of people who want to tell you how to live your life the way they want you to live it and give them 10%? How did they know about 10% back then, Rain? Because the people who wrote that book were kings and queens. Okay. What else you going to do? You're going to burn some sage. Why do you think burning something and smoke is going to transpose into a realm that has no physicality whatsoever? It's not. So the only thing you're going to do with that sage is when you burn it, is you're going to set off your fire alarms. That's all you're going to do. You can't make them go away. I mean, if that were the truth, then how come all the forest fires in the world haven't made all the negative energies go away? Because it can't.
Interesting.
Right. Because this is what they want to sell you. Okay. But the only thing that you can do to make negative energies go away is by putting out positive energy, by being a positive person. What they don't tell you on the other side of someone's house who's really haunted by these horrible energies, the other story that they're not telling you, see, they tell you these stories because they're, it's a TV show or it's a movie. So they're just trying to sell you what? Tickets. So they can make money. But what they're not telling you is the person who owns that house, if they have a really bad energy in there, it's because negative energies are attracted to negative energy. So what they're not telling you is the person who owns the house is a piece of shit.
I can see that.
I'm not the rainbows and unicorns and everything is love and light medium. I'm here to tell the truth. And the truth is that they put a lot of bullshit out there for you to believe in it, for one thing, so you'll be afraid of everything. Don't be afraid. You don't have to be. These negative energies are only going to be around you, just like negative people are around us. But the thing with the negative people is, why are they around us? Because you allow them to be in your life. Stop allowing it. When they call you up on the telephone, you look at the telephone and go, "Oh, it's that piece of shit." Click. That's what you do. I don't care if it's your mom or your dad, your best friend, your so-called best friend, your brother or sister. If they're not being a positive force in your life, and if they're not helping to lift you up in your life and be a good side of your life, then why do you have them in your life? You let go of them. And I'm not judging them, calling them a piece of shit. I'm just telling you they're pieces of shit because they choose to be that way. They can choose differently.
Facts. Everybody got a choice. That's 100% truth.
Yes, they do. Just like if you and I were best buddies and you came to me and you said, "Daniel, I'm having a problem drinking," I'd say, "You know what, Rain? I'll take you. I'll take you to AA. I'll keep you away from drugs and alcohol. I'll keep you away from all the bars and all that stuff. Although, who doesn't like a good strip club? I get it. But I'll keep you away from all that stuff. But no matter what I say or do isn't going to make a bit of difference unless you choose to stop drinking. So unless you choose to let go of that negativity in your life, it's always going to be around you. So the only way that you can keep that from being around you is keeping yourself away from it. You don't have to rubberneck every time you drive down the street and you see an accident going on the side of the road. If it's not part of your life, don't try to make it part of your life. Don't entertain everything that's going on. If you see a crowd of people going on and they're all getting into a fight or rioting and stuff like that, go the other way. That's what you do. You look away. Do you have to pay attention to everything that's going on with the elections and all that stuff and how they're beating each other down the entire time and you're getting angry over it? No, you don't. You can learn to let that shit go and you could walk away. You could change your channel, or like I do, I haven't watched the news in 7 years because it's not worth it. So why would I want to have myself messed up with all that stuff? Because it doesn't make a difference who wins the election. We all lose anyway.
Facts. And I'm actually glad you said that because, like, anywhere you go, if you're in the store, gas station, you get in a meal, you're going to hear a politic talk. And people don't believe. I'm gonna say don't. I'm not gonna say they don't believe. Let me rephrase. They don't understand that. Yeah, we're voting and we're trying to get our voice heard, and we will be heard. But the question is, who is listening? At the same time, the
Nobody.
president, right, and the president is a figurehead. He has to
Right.
answer to somebody. So
Right.
a lot of people don't realize you're going to lose somehow, some way. So you take the softer blow. They just roll with, hey, that's our new president. We love him. And then 4 years later, I hate him. Like,
Right.
why did I vote for him? Oh, that's a new guy. I love him. Why did I mean? And that's just, I guess I want to say, I don't
They
want to say
answer.
trials of life.
They answer to this: the person who's paying them the money, and the
Of
money they're
course.
making, the money they're making from themselves, from the American public. That's what they're doing.
Money's the root of all evil. It will control people. I mean, even
Yeah.
with
But
Donald
well,
getting in there, huh?
they say the money is the root of all evil, but it's partially true because money. We base our whole value in this system, in this world, on rocks and paper. You've heard of it. It's called gold and dollar bills. That's what we base our. But the true value in this world is us, because without us, it would still just be rocks and paper. It's not worth anything unless it's in your hands. So what's that mean? We are the value, not that.
Facts. We got comments, man. You got people lighting up the comment section. We got people saying, "Wow, great interview. I love him." Yes, and they loving what's going on, man. You got people sitting in their seats, and it's very, very.
If they think they love me now, wait till I take my shirt off. Just kidding. Nobody wants to see that. My wife
Hey,
doesn't
man,
want to see that.
we do what we want to do on here. If you choose to sit there in your shirt and speak your piece, do your thing, man. Who am I to tell you not to do
I don't want to show my man boobs to everybody.
it? Growing up in the town you was in, what was it like to be in that such a, I guess I would say, small place, everybody knowing everybody, everybody knowing everybody's business? What was it like growing up?
And that was exactly it. The town that I lived in was 1 square mile, so it was not very big. Yeah, everybody kind of knew everybody. You knew all the families that lived there, but they were all intrigued by what was going on at our house and in some of the other houses around this park. So I would, I'd be telling ghost stories all the time every time I go to school. Um, so no one really bugged us about it because they all lived in that general area of this park, so they all heard about it. They all heard about the lore and the kids would go down there. We would go down there at nighttime when we were kids and hang out and wait for the ghosts to come walking around because they would. So everybody was used to it. It just became a part of life after a while.
Okay. Um, in the book, you said you grew up with diabetes and you had to wear the boot. How was that in that time and era?
Oh,
Because now to have diabetes or wear a boot, it's more technology, more Western medicine. Where back then things were, I'm not gonna say primitive, but very limited. How was that growing up?
I only wore that boot for 7 weeks. That's because I had to have because of my diabetes, I had a problem with my foot. One of my toes, I got a cut on my foot, and we couldn't get it healed up. So I actually had to have my big toe and the ball of my foot on my left foot amputated. So
Ooh,
yeah. So when I take off my shoes, I can only count the 9. So if I use my hands and my feet, I can only count the 19. So but unless I pull my pants down, then I'm back to 20. Uh, but yeah, not much. But average white guy. But that part of my life, it's still a part of my life. I just take care of myself a little bit better now, and I don't have the issues I had back then. But that was a part of my life. My wife and I were actually my first wife. We were at the mall, and I was walking around with the boot, and that thing was tiring me out like crazy. I mean, because you're just constantly lugging that thing along. And it's when I said to my wife, I said, I got to go to the bathroom. She's like, okay. I said, yeah, we got to make it there soon. So I walked in the bathroom, and when I did, as soon as I sat down in the stall, I heard a voice. A voice said out loud, Everything's going to be okay, my son. And I was like, who the hell was that? It freaked me the hell out. And I stood up and I looked around and there was nobody in that bathroom. And when I finished up and got out of there, I said to my wife, I said, did anybody come out of the bathroom or go in the bathroom? She said, no, you're the only one that's been in there for the past 20 minutes. I was like, oh my God. So she said, why? I said, because I heard a voice in there. And I told her what the voice said. And she said, maybe God was talking to you. I said, I don't know. What would he be talking to me for? But that's not the first time that that has happened. That has happened uh, 3 times. It happened to me another time a couple of years later when my wife and I had separated and I was riding my motorcycle and I had headphones in and the music I was playing came to a halt. And then that voice came through and said, everything's going to be okay, my son. And then so I pulled over. It freaked me out again.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got home, I tried to play that exact song, and nothing would come through. And then I was spoken to again one time in a car listening to some music, and the voice came through, but it was a woman's voice this time, and she said, "Everything's going to be okay, Daniel." And I was like, "What?" Through my speaker system. So, yeah, I've been spoken to quite a few times, and some of those times were like while I was out doing things, and a few of those times it's been while I was home in bed, and also as in part of my spiritual journey. Because I didn't know I've seen spirit ever since I was 3 years old, but I didn't know what it all meant. It wasn't until I was right before I was turning 50 years old is when all of this came to fruition of what this all meant. So, and then after that point, now I get talked to all the time. It doesn't, but with me, I get talked to by archangels, but a regular spirit also talks to me as well. They just don't talk about uh, all the good stuff. They're the ones that are in the low energy place, but they do talk to me all the time. But they don't talk about what you think they would talk about either. I mean, I had a lady come through a couple of months ago, and she said, because where she was, she said, "My life here is like living in a prison sentence." And then I heard a woman next door laughing
Mm. Hmm.
because it's not so great there. I mean, there's no buildings, there's no trees, there's nothing there. There's something that kind of looks like land, and they're all just walking around. That's it. There's
Okay.
nothing to do there, except interact with each other.
Okay. Well, one of our viewers has a question. She says, "Is it
Sure.
true if some passes in the house, their spirit is still there?"
No, only if they choose to remain earthbound. So there, you could have a haunted house, and that person didn't even die in your house because they were on that property before your house was there. You built the house, and then there they are. But no, the only reason they would stay in your house is if they chose to stay in that house when they passed away, and that means any spirit that did that did not cross over into what we would call heaven, and they stayed here earthbound.
Okay.
So they're staying there because they choose to stay there. But I mean, a lot of choices of that is because someone told them they're not good enough, or they feel they're not good enough, or they're afraid to go in because everyone tells you that God is going to judge you at the pearly gates. Well, there's no pearly gates, and He's not judging you because you're His child. Why would He do that? I mean, what God does not need to judge you. I mean, that's a big misconception. Why would God judge you for something He gave you? He gave you free will so that you can make decisions about your life for your entire life. Now, if He thought that there was going to be a problem with that, and He thought that we were going to make some bad decisions, wouldn't it make sense for Him to put a limit on those free will? But He didn't. He didn't because He wants you to make the best choices that you need to make for you. And just because they are the best choices for you doesn't mean they are the best choices for someone else. So He's not going to send you to some place of punishment for something that He gave you. The people who want to tell you that, that's religion. They want to tell you that because they want to have power and control over you.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Um.
There's no such thing as
do-
a devil.
I have nothing to say.
I see into that place all there might be a guy walking around with horns and a tail,
Mhm.
but he's not there to torture or murder anybody or they you, you're pure energy. Pure energy doesn't burn. I mean, if pure energy were to burn, then how come if you take a lighter, it doesn't go all the time? Because there's nothing to burn. That's why. Yeah, there's no guy. Yeah, there might be a guy walking around with horns on a tail, but that's just because that's what he looks like where he comes from. That's all.
Okay. I can understand that. That makes sense. That's just area in
Yeah,
so many words.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they're just there's all kinds of other beings out there, but that doesn't make them the devil. There is no devil. There's a Lucifer. He's an archangel. He's not a fallen angel because angels don't fall. People do.
Hmm. When you're out and about on a town or in another city, the type of the type of gift you have, there are a lot of phonies. There are a lot of pretenders. Do you
Yeah.
ever find yourself in a situation or a argument or conversation, somebody saying, "Okay, oh, that's Daniel Jackson, he's fake," or "That's Mary Smith, she's fake, I'm the real," and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, they try to trick me sometimes. I used to do a live show on Facebook, and I let people come in and ask me questions. And these are people I've never met before. They just come in and ask me questions. And I had a lady come on my show one time, and she asked me. She said, "I want to ask you some questions about my brother who passed away." Now, the first thing they don't know that I'm doing is because I'm in communication with them all the time is they touch me for yes and no answer. So they touch my face. It's on my top of my eyebrow or somewhere else on my face, and that's yes. Uh, and when I get a no answer, it feels like a tears running down my eyes. So this is yes, and that's no. I only get one answer for no, but I get touched all over my face for yes answers. Uh, so when she told me that, I said to her, "I'm sorry, miss, but I can't answer that question for you." And then she yelled out, "I knew you're a fake. I knew you're not real." I said, "No, that's not the problem." And she said, "What's the problem?" I said, "You're asking me a question that's not real." I said, "Because your brother's not dead."
Mm.
And she said, "How did you know that?" I said, "'Cause you're talking to the fucking medium. That's how I know that." I said, "Because they touched me and they told me that your brother's not dead, and you were asking me a manipulated question so you could get an answer that you want to try to prove to everyone else that I'm not real. Correct?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Get the fuck off my show." Because I get the real answers. I do this once a month. I go to a place up in Tucson, Arizona, and we have this there's this fair there called the Psychic Healing Fair. I go there once a month, and I average between 17 and 21 readings in a 7-hour period.
Mm.
I'm
Okay.
busy as hell. And why am I busy in hell? Because I'm the shizzle fucking dizzle. That's why. Because I get real answers. But here's the problem. The
Talk your
problem
shit. Talk your shit.
the problem that I have is people come to me because they want an answer from God, and I get the answer, but they usually don't like the answer because they don't like the truth, because people want an answer from God, but they don't wanna commit to the answer of having it come to fruition. In other words, there's steps that have to be taken in order for them to have that answer happen, and they don't wanna do that because everybody wants to go to Staples and have a fucking easy button. Life is not easy, and people know that it's not easy. How do they know that? Because they live life and they look around and you see people walk around, "Woe is me, woe is me." It's not easy, but it can be good, but you have to take the steps in order to do that, and I give the answers to them in order to do that. But again, they don't ever really wanna do that because life it's too hard for them. Well, then why do you think they're here to see me in the fucking first place? Because they couldn't figure it out. So I'm gonna give them the answer to help them figure it out, but you gotta do the work yourself.
That's 100% true. The key word is doing it yourself and work, and a lot of people don't want to put that time in, and
No,
definitely not patient.
they think, "Oh, let me get some crystals or let me get some sacred geometry tattoos put on myself or let me burn some sage and all that stuff." All that stuff is garbage. That's not going to raise your vibrations. That's not going to keep negative energies away from you. It's not going to do anything. You want to have that stuff happen? You got to put in the dirty work, and you got to get down and dirty and get rid of all the bullshit that's in your lives. That's how you fix yourself. But people don't want that. They think that I'm going to talk to archangels and they're going to be these magical beings that are come down and fix your lives. No, spirit, spirit and spirit guides, people don't have archangels with you. You don't have guardian angels with you. If you had a guardian following you around everywhere you go, guarding you from everything, what would you learn? Nothing. So you don't have a guardian angel with you. You don't even have angels and you don't have archangels with you. Why? Because you don't need an angel to go get a cup of freaking coffee. That's why. You don't need an angel to take 1,000 selfies and post it on freaking uh, social media all day long. That's not what angels are here to do. They're here to do big picture things for people and lots of people who are trying to change this world into a better place. And if you're not one of those people and you're walking around thinking everything is about me, and taking 1,000 selfies all day long, well, then that's a self-esteem problem. You go get that fixed. What you should be doing is you're fulfilling your purpose here. And your purpose is not becoming a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher. Your purpose is we are here to help each other just for the sake of helping, not because you can, but because in a way where you're going to help someone to do something they can't do for themselves, or you're helping them to figure it out. Or you're helping all of God's creation where you see a dog out in the middle of the road and you say, let me get that dog out of the road. Let me get it to its owner. Let me get it safe. Let me get it to a vet or something like that. Or you got some people go, oh, I ain't got time for that fucking dog. I'm late for work. And you know what? You know what
Right,
you do
right.
there? Yeah, you know what they do? Get up earlier. That's what you do. So get to work on time and stop being so fucking late all the time because you're a bullshit, egotistical piece of shit life.
Hey, y'all heard it right here. Spotlight Podcast. Daniel Jackson told y'all what to do. He told y'all how to do it. Follow it, listen, understand it.
Listen, trust, and follow through. That's what they want you to do. And everybody can do that. Again, you have a beautiful, bright white light inside of you. You have an internal compass that's guiding you. That's called your soul. People call it your intuition. That's your soul. And you can listen to your soul to listen to what it tells you to do. How do you know when people are really not listening? I mean, if you're driving down the street in a car and you see a car in front of you and you say, oh, I'm going to pass that car. And then you got a gut feeling that says, don't pass the car. And you go, ooh. You know what you
Hmm.
do? Don't pass the fucking car. It's
Right.
that simple. But how do you know when someone's not listening? Because you're in a hospital talking to your friend who got into a car accident and they say, you know what, man? I saw that car in front of me. And then they say the three words, I saw that car in front of me and I just knew. When they said that, that means their soul was talking to them and they talked themselves out of it.
I can
People say
believe that.
that people say that term all the time. You know, I just knew it. I just knew it. You just knew it because your soul was telling you that. That's why. But people blow it off all the time. So when they say I just knew, that means they're actually getting a message from their soul, getting a message from spirit and spirit guides trying to guide you in this world. That's what they're trying to do. But every time you talk yourself out of it, here's what you are doing. Every single time you talk yourself out of something like that, you're basically telling, I ain't got time for you today, God.
Hmm.
Why would you want to do that?
Facts. Interesting. Never thought of it that way either, but very interesting.
It's the way it is. People just don't pay attention to it. Why? Because they want to go out and think they need 6 cars and 7 houses and 10 boats in this world. No, you don't. Those things are not important. We are important. And I mean, I tell people all the time, we all live on the same planet. No one's going anywhere anytime soon. So we better start to get along with each other before we annihilate each other. Stop segregating ourselves from ourselves. We're all humans. No matter what anyone else is telling you, whatever they are telling you, stop listening and walk away. Because all they're trying to do is make everybody angry and angered against each other. We're all in this together. We've always been in this together. We better figure that the fuck out.
Facts. Man, you got my audience on their seats. I got people saying he preaching. Yes, great show. Hey, they love you, my guy. They definitely love you. Let's talk about the new beginning. Let's talk about the book, which I see in the corner. Can you show that? I see it in your corner behind by your lamp. Can you show the audience the book?
Yeah, sure. I got it right here too.
Yeah, show them. The new beginning, my awakening as a spirit medium. What made you decide, you know what? I'm gonna let people in my world, and I'm gonna tell people my adventures, misadventures, everything I've learned.
My
What made you decide
misadventures,
that?
yeah. I to tell you the truth, I didn't make that decision for myself. Uh, Back when I first started being a medium, because I didn't know I was a medium at first. I had I had gone to 5 different other mediums, and every one of them told me the same story about me. Um, and then one of them in particular helped me along with this. And then I eventually got into a group of mediums, and they helped me to develop this because I was just a guy who saw spirit all the time, but I was seeing so many. It was a lot. So, but I was meditating. I finally learned to meditate. Excuse me. And when I did, they would show me messages in cartoon form. I'd see a cartoon playing with my eyes closed, or it would show it in movie form. But this one particular time, they were showing me a cartoon of a man that looked similar to me, and
Okay.
he was sitting there writing something on some paper, looked like some scrolls, and I was like, I said, "Oh, he's writing something. What's he writing?" And then they put a piece of paper in front of my face, and I had my handwriting on it, and I was like, "That's strange. That looks like my handwriting." And then I got touched yes. I said, "What do you want me to write a book or something?" And then I got touched yes. And I said, "What am I going to write about?" And then I heard, "You're going to write about you." In my mind, it was another voice, and I was like, "Okay." And then they said, "We will bring you messages at the end, and then we want you to write them down, and that'll be the end of the book." And I said, "Okay." I said, "What am I going to call the book?" And they said, "The New Beginning." Now, the new beginning is not about me.
Okay.
The new beginning is about everybody else. Because at the end of my book doesn't say the end. My book says 2332 because that's the end. That's
Hmm.
the end of time here on this world, 2332, the year 2332. But the new beginning part of it, again, I'm not a mathematician. I'm not a numerologist, and numerology is a bunch of bullshit anyway. So don't believe in numerology. Don't believe in a bunch of astrology because the original calendar was 5 months long, then it was 9 months long, then it was 10, and then it was 12. So that means they started out with 5 signs, and then four more, and then one more, and then they invented two more. So why does only 12 groups of stars have something to do with you when 12 groups of stars only have to do with the periodical change of the time of year of when it's winter and summer, okay, and fall and all that stuff? Why do those 12 groups of stars have something to do with you and the other gazillion don't? Because it's
Hmm.
bullshit. That's why. Okay. Here's what astrology is: a bunch of people standing around looking up the stars and going, "Hey, let's play connect the dots. Hey, it's a fish. Yeah. Hey, look at that one. It makes it a horse. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it doesn't. Makes it a bunch of fucking stars. Let it go. But so the end of the book says 2332. So if you take the number 23 and add that together, 2 plus 3 makes 5. And you take 32 and you add that together, 3 plus 2, that makes 5. And you add 5 and 5 together, what's that make? 10. And you turn 10 around, what's it make? 0, 1. That's the new beginning. In other words, when this place comes to an end, a new start will come at a new place, and that'll be 0, 1.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
new beginning. But they showed me the book. They told me that they wanted me to write this book. Uh, so that's why I wrote it. Now, I didn't write it for a couple of years. It was about 3 or 4 years before I actually wrote it. My mom was doing very poorly. My wife's mom was doing very poorly. My mom had ended up passing away, uh, but her mom passed away before my mom. But so life was just it was just a lot going on with that point. So, but there was a lot of other things that happened to me during my life with spirit, and I was going to events and doing things. So a lot of I put some of my favorite reads in there, some of the readings I've done. Uh, that are in the book. But so there's a lot of other events that occurred during that time period. And then I put that all into the book. And then I put those 25 messages at the end. When I took that book and I sent it to the editor because I had to, because all my grammar is horrible. Because I
Okay.
would I put these big giant fucking paragraphs in there because I don't know how to fucking write a story. But everything is in chronological order. So I put it all in there. I gave it to the editor, but she sent those 25 messages back. She said, "These don't need to be edited." She said, "Why wouldn't they need to be edited?" I said, "Because they didn't come from me. They came from
Mm.
they came from archangels. That essentially, these are messages that are coming from God, and these messages He wants us to implement into our lives so that we can become the better versions of ourselves, and then in turn, we can help other people to also become the better versions, which in turn helps us at the same time." So, but I, it was not my idea to write a book. They wanted me to write a book, and now they're wanting me to write another book, so I'm writing another book. But and the other book is more or less what it's like to be me
Okay.
throughout my days as being me. Uh, but even that's hard to write down because because people come up to me all the time. Or they'll come up to my wife, like when we're at this show doing readings, and they'll ask her, "So what's it like to live with him? It's gotta be wonderful. I mean, it oh, is he walking on clouds all day long?"
Spectacle,
No,
right?
no. Yeah, I'm not walking on clouds all day long. I mean, my wife's got comes up to me and says, "Okay, word of God, it's time to empty the dishwasher." I just emptied the dishwasher, an hour ago. So, I mean, I'm just like everybody else, but I get answers to all the unanswered questions. But you have to imagine where that how that happens. So when I say they're touching me on my face, this is yes and that's no. But I get touched, and even in the book, it stated I was getting like 12 or 15 touches by 12 or 15 different archangels. Now it's 68. I get
Mm.
68 different touches all over my face, sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 of them at a time. And then they put thought into my mind. When in the beginning, they were when this was all happening for me, I was getting thought put into my mind maybe 5% of the time. Now it's 90% of the time. So I'm really not as much of me as I once was
Mm.
because everything that's coming through my mind is them all the time. So I have to navigate my life a little bit differently.
Okay.
It's
One
not
of our
easy.
one of our viewers wants to know, do you ever get scared of yourself?
That's an awesome question. I'll put it to you this way. So I got a how to explain this? I had a question to ask, and sometimes when I have, I thought was sometimes when I have a question to ask, they are putting the question in my mind for me to ask, and then they will give me the answer. So
Mhm.
that's them putting a predetermined question inside of me to get an answer that they already have for me. But and this is an answer instead of just telling me that, they wanted me to ask questions because ask questions for people all the time. It's the answers that I get that are just sometimes scary.
Mm.
But I I I did a reading for a lady. So here's how blunt I am if people want to know how blunt I am. So I did a reading for a lady about 2 months ago up in Tucson. And she came in front of me, and what I usually do is I hold her hand, and first I explained it to him this way. I say, "I can only tell the truth one way. I can't tell it 50 ways until one way suits you." Meaning, if you ask me a question and I get you an answer, that's the answer. If you don't like the answer, I don't give two shits because that's the answer, and you just don't like the truth. I communicate with archangels, not men with wings and shields and swords, but they are here to help us. But they're not here to directly help you because you don't have angels walking around because you don't need an angel here to go get a cup of fucking coffee. Uh, but you do have spirit guides who are with you. Now, let me hold your hand and see what's here. And I held her hand, so that's what I do. And I say, hold it like you mean it, and give me a grip. And then I connect with what's with them. And a lot of times I see spirit animals that are in front of them, and the spirit animal will act out for me what that person is going through in their life at that moment. Now, I did all that with this woman. Uh, and what I saw with her, I saw a horse standing in front of her, and the horse was walking back and forth and then was walking around her in a circle and then would walk back and forth and then look to the left and look to the right. and then back up and then go in another direction, look to the left and look to the right, and then back up and come back in this other direction again. And I told her that with my eyes closed. And she said, "What does that mean?" I said, "Well, the horse is walking around you in a circle because you have a trust issue with people and you've put a wall up around yourself and you don't trust anybody." I said, "But the other problem is that the horse is walking back and forth, looking in the left and right direction and then can't move anywhere. So, in other words, you have a problem with direction in your life right now and you talk yourself out of things all the time." And when I
Mm.
opened my eyes, she was crying because
Hmm.
I'm fucking right. And she said, "Yeah, that's exactly what's going on." So we got through all that part, and then I said, "So what do you want to know?" Ask some questions, and she said, "Am I ever going to have any grandchildren?" I said, "No," and she said, "Why not?" I said, "You want the long answer or the short answer?" She goes, "The short answer." I said, "You're not meant to," and she said,
Mm.
"Well, how about the long answer?" I said, "The long answer is your daughter cannot have children." Now, here's the problem. You bug your daughter about having children all the time. You bug her so much that it gets on her fucking nerves. But here's the reason why your daughter can't have children, because your daughter has a couple of diseases that even doctors can't diagnose. And she said, "That's true." And I said, "And some of those diseases would cause her excruciating pain if she were to try to have children." Now, the reason why she cannot have children is not that reason. The reason is because souls are not meant to come through your daughter for children. That's why everyone's here, because your mom was supposed to have children because the souls were supposed to come through your mom. That's the way that works. I said, you know how you hear about people try and try and try and they just can't have babies yet because they're not meant to. But doctors will tell you keep trying because they want to get all your money and it's got to be a medical problem. It's not a fucking medical problem. It's a God problem because he says those souls are not meant to come through. So I said, but they're not meant to come through for your daughter. But the big part about that is if your daughter tries with all those diseases she has, it's going to cause her so much fucking pain. But you're willing to have your daughter go through all that pain in order for you to have some grandchildren. So here I am to tell you, you're not having grandchildren because she can't. And because of her diseases, again, what I want you to do is I want you to spend as much time with you as you can with your daughter because your daughter's checking out soon. And when I mean
Mm.
checking out, I mean she's dying soon. And she said, "How long?" I said, 8 years. She's dying and she's getting out of here. Now, let me put it to you this way, lady. If she were to have grandchildren, now knowing she's going to die, those children would be stuck with you. She said, "Oh, no, no, no. I don't want that." I said, "I know you don't want that." I said, "I know you don't want that. So you're not having any grandchildren." And again, even if you were to try, even if she were to try, she would have what would be called uh, a stillborn child because
Mm.
that child would come through with no soul, meaning it's dead. So it's not actually a child because the soul does not sit inside the belly waiting to be born. The soul doesn't come into the body until the body's being actually born. And that's why we have stillborn children because the soul looks at the body and says, "This one's not going to make it. I'm out of here." And then you have a dead kid, which is absolutely not a dead kid. It's a shell. That's all it is. So I'm
Yeah.
sure I'm sure I'm pissing some people off, but you know what? That's the truth. If you don't like it, why do you think people die? Because the soul leaves and you have an old shell as compared to a brand new shell. That's all you have. So I said to her, "So here's what I want you to do. The next time you get an inkling for your daughter to have grandchildren, even though you know it would cause her lots of pain, the next time what I want you to do at that point is I want you to shut your fucking mouth. I want you to leave your daughter alone and stop bugging her about having children because she goes through enough agony as it is now. She's not going to have them." And she looked at me and she said, "Okay." Now, the next person that came up was this young lady, and I held her hand. When I did, I saw this horse standing there, this beautiful white horse, but it looked like it was in pain. And I saw all these angels standing around petting the horse. And I was like, "Whoa." And she's like, I said, "I don't never see this before. I've seen a horse here and it looks like he's pain. And all these horses, these angels are here petting the horse." I said, "Oh, they're letting the horse know that they're going to be leaving soon." I said, "Oh, that's you. You're going to be leaving soon." She said, Am I really? I said, yes, you are. She looked at me. She said, thank God. She said, I am in agony right now. I'm in so much pain all the time. She says, I have a disease where they don't even know what it is, but I bumped into a table one time and it broke my leg. And I
Oh,
was
wow.
like, "Oh my god." And she said, "Yeah, it's really bad." I said, "Well, don't worry." I said, You're getting out of here. It's not gonna be, uh, real short." But, she said, "How long do I have?" She says, "I really wanna get out of here." I said, "You have 8 years left. You're going home soon." And she said, "Thank you." I said, "Oh," I said, "Don't thank me. Thank them. That's God's thing. That's not me. I'm just here to let you know." And she said, now all I need to do is get my mother off my back about having grandkids. And I said, "Oh, was that your fucking mom back there?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Don't worry." I said, "She's not gonna bother you again because I told her to shut her fucking mouth because it's gonna cause you so many problems." And she said, she stood up and hugged me like you wouldn't believe. She said, "Thank you. Thank you. I hope she will leave me alone." I said, "She will, because at the end of this reading, I'm going to walk you up to her and I'm going to tell her right to her fucking face to shut the fuck up." And I did, because that's what I do for people. I give them the truth.
That's what's
And
up.
it's documented. So if anybody could walk around and tell me I'm a liar, I'm not doing this, okay. Okay. If that's what you want to say, but you know what? I don't give a shit what you say because I get to help people every day.
That's what's up. Can you let the viewers and listeners know where to acquire the book?
Sure. They can find the book on Amazon. They can just go to Amazon and punch in Daniel Jackson, The New Beginning, My Awakening as a Spirit Medium. They can put that whole title in there of the book, and you'll see that picture of that man walking into the bright white light. Or if you turn it around, you get to see my good looking face, sort of. But yeah, and they can find it on Amazon. The paperback is $8 and the ebook is $6.49. We will soon be doing an audiobook. Um, but yeah, I sell it for $8 because I'm not trying to make $1 million. I'm just trying to help as many people as I can. And the story is, I mean, chronologically about me. I mean, there's so much that's happened to me. It would take me, you know, a couple days to tell everything. But everything that you read in the book, that didn't stop. It still goes on
Mhm.
every day. I see that stuff every day. I just see it more intensely now, because my ability progresses all the time. I don't just see spirit. I see into what we would call other dimensions. I remote view. I don't have any control of it. It just turns on. So, but I'm involved in this. It never turns off. It never goes away. I'm this all the time. So just imagine trying to do that and live a regular life. It's
Hmm.
difficult.
I
So,
bet.
yeah, when I walk into Walmart, I look at all the people and then I look at all the dead people. So, if that sounds glamorous to you, good luck with that because it's
Mm.
not. So,
And
yeah, they can find me on Amazon and, oh, I have a podcast too called Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson, me, and it's actually on a streaming network. It's gonna be coming out soon, on, Roku and Fire TV, and
okay.
that's on a network called Ethereal TV, Ethereal, etherealtv.net. So, yeah, it'll be coming out, probably next year, but, not sure when, but yeah.
Congratulations, definitely. It's advancement. That's good.
As long as I'm helping people and getting out there and getting the word out, I didn't sign no big giant like gazillion dollar contract or anything like that. It doesn't work that way anymore. I'm doing it because it's going to put me out there and it's going to put me out where I need to be and it's going to put me out there so that I can bring the message out there, the message that God wants me to put out there. So
Um, the first time in your book, the first time you seen your grandma rocking in that chair as a kid, how did you respond to it, or did you just automatically just beeline to a safer your room or a safer place?
oh, it freaked me the fuck out, man. Yeah, I was actually how old was I? I was in my 20s. And um, no, I'm sorry, I was 33 actually when that happened.
Okay.
My grandfather stayed with my mom and dad. Um, and I was there and my sister was there, and I was up in my grandfather's room and he had pictures of my grandmom around and stuff, and I was going through all his old pictures of him and stuff because they're from Philadelphia, and he was what's in the Mummers Parade and on the New Year's Eve and all that stuff and all this memorabilia stuff. So I was laying down in the bed because I was falling asleep. My sister had her pet there. It was called a ferret. Uh, it was like uh, a foot and a half long rat is what it was, and this thing it just made all this noise all the time, squeaking and stuff. So I was laying in bed trying to fall asleep, and the damn thing kept hearing it squeak. I was like, squeak, squeak, and I was like, "What the hell?" I said, I'd tell it, "Hey, knock it off," and then lay back down, and then it would do it again. It did it a couple times. I was like, "Nah." And finally, I sat right up, and when I did, my grandfather's rocking chair was rocking back and forth, and my grandmother was in it, and she had already been dead for 2 years. Uh, and she was just sitting there rocking back and forth, and I was stunned. I was just staring at her like, "What is going on?" And then she was staring off in the other direction, and then she turned around and looked at me, and her eyes went "Roop," like that, got real big, and then gone. And I was like, okay, I guess it's time to go back to my room." And I just got up and walked out. But there was never a time that I could ever escape any of that. I couldn't go anywhere to escape any of it. I was when I was back in my 20s, I was playing in a rock band. I had big hair. I was wearing zebra stripe spandex. I thought I was looking cool, but I wasn't. But I came home from a gig and I laid down in bed in my bedroom, and when I laid down, something laid down next to me. And then that happened like 3 or 4 times. My bed was moving and shake a little bit, and my pillow would squish down, and I'd look around, see what the hell is there. Nothing was there, and it happened like 3 or 4 times, and then that 5th time, when it did it again, I sat up, and when I did, whatever was there took the blanket that was on top of me, it brought it up to the ceiling, and then it shook it above me, and then it dropped it on top of me. And
Oh
then for
wow.
and then for 2 years after that, Rain, I slept on the couch downstairs because I was scared shitless. So,
I can
yeah,
imagine.
it was crazy, but and I was seeing things like that all the time. I would see people I'd see a shadow person walk up to the door and peek in and watch me, so as I was trying to go to bed. But yeah, I was seeing things all the time. I'd see shadows out of the corner of my eyes. One time I was in my house back in Delaware because my wife and I live in Arizona now, and and I was sitting there at the computer. Now this was all taking place, and I was aware of it, but I was sitting there waiting for her to come out of the bedroom because we were going to go get something to eat. And I'm sitting at the computer, and then a shadow walked right out of the doorway, and I went like this, and nobody was there. And as soon as I turned back around, here comes my wife out of the doorway, and I was like,
Mm.
"What the?" I've seen one that came from the back of the or the front of the house. It was a full on person. I thought it was my son, my stepson, her son. He it looked like him because he was tall like him because he's like 6'3", and he came out of this person came out of the front of the house, walked down the hallway a little bit, walked through the living room because I was sitting there at the computer and I went like this and saw him walk like that, and I said, "Oh," and I went to get up to go into the kitchen. I said, "Hey, and when I got there was nobody there, and I was
Mhm.
like, and then I looked on the other side of the wall, nothing. He wasn't home.
Mm.
I don't know
Hmm.
who this guy was. I see a guy that here in my house here. Apparently, it's the so I asked questions, and I found out that the owners of this house, uh, they fixed up the house, the whole inside of it because it had all these arches and all this stuff, and they took all that stuff out, and made it an open concept. And after they got done doing that, it was only a couple months later he died. He was diagnosed with cancer and died. Uh, so she sold us the house. He's still walking around here.
Mm.
He
Can't let it go.
walks around all the time. Yeah. Yeah, one time I went to sleep and I said, we have cats here. And I said, "Good night, kids. I love you." And then I heard a voice say, "I love them too." And I was like, okay. I mean, it's you hear these I hear voices all the time and where they're coming from. I mean, a lot of times now, it's just when I hear the voice, I close my eyes and then I can see them standing in front of me. But a lot of times it's just, a voice. So what do?
Right.
You can either be scared by it or you can learn to accept it. It's like anything in your life, but like especially with what was going on with me during the book. I could either be scared by it or I could learn to accept myself. Anyone out in the world can either be scared by their life or they can learn to accept themselves. And if you can't
Facts.
figure out what's going on in your life, there's 7.5 billion people out in the world. Someone has been through what you're going through or is going through it. Go out and find your people. Don't be afraid to do that. No one in this world is alone. You have to reach out.
True. And you know what's so funny about that? A lot of people are afraid to reach out because they don't have control over the outcome, but they're not strong enough or that pride aside to admit that.
Well, there's one outcome nobody has control over. The big one. The big
Facts.
one the big one is there's two rules in this world. As long as you comprehend these rules and you follow these rules, you'll appreciate your life and everyone else's life around you. And rule number 1 is people die every day. And
Mhm.
rule number 2 is you can't change rule number 1. When it's your time to go, it's just your time to go. No one dies too soon. No one dies too young. No one dies unexpectedly. No one dies untimely. And no one dies tragically. Everyone just dies. You just do. Everyone else wants to put a blame on it. Don't listen to it. It's just them trying to put fear into your heart. That's what they want you to do.
Hmm.
Don't be afraid. You're going to die. Let it go.
Hmm. Speaking of cats and shadows, let's talk about shadow. I read in the book where you gave
That's
a
my,
section of dedication. Let's talk about that.
yeah. Shadow was a cat that my wife and I had a previous cat. His name was Coco Bean. Uh, he was my buddy. I had him for 16 years. And then he was my little chunk of chocolate. And so he passed away. When he passed away, um, it was getting we knew when it was getting time because he was trying to hide in the closet and he wasn't cleaning himself anymore. Um, this is a hard story to tell. He it there was a night my wife and I were both home and we walked in the room and he was just shaking a whole bunch. We go, okay, it's time for him to go. So I was telling him, don't be afraid to go. It's okay to go. You've been here long enough. It's time to go. And but then spirit again. I found that this was before I found out I was a medium. So, but spirit came through and were doing what you could call channeling, and was channeling through my wife and spirit were coming through and said a couple names that came through, and then they also said he doesn't want to go, and I was like, what do you mean he doesn't want to go? And I thought I was talking to my wife, and they said no, these three people were here, and then a voice came through and said he doesn't want to go, he wants to stay here, he wants to stay here with you, and I was like, with me? And they said yes, he wants to stay here with you. And I said, "No, no, he needs to go home." And they said, "We know. We're trying to tell him to come home, but he doesn't want to leave." He ended up staying another 2 weeks, and then uh, so it was his time to go. So I was there with him, and he was just looking straight and breathing real hard. And I said, "It's time for you to go. It's time for you to get out of here. I want you to go home." And just walk into the light. And when you go home, don't worry. Just wait for me, and I'll come and find you when I come home. And then I gave him a kiss on the face, and then he looked up at me. He reared out, took one big breath, and then he was gone.
Mm.
So then it was about a year later. We went to the SPCA because I said I want to get another one, and because I know he would want me to love somebody else, and I did. So we went and got my buddy Shadow. Shadow was about 7 years old at that time, but I didn't care. He picked me. I walked up to all the cages of the cats, and he came up to me and just kept wanting to me to pet him, and he was wanting my wife to pet him, so we took him home. So, and that period of me going through this change and finding out I was a medium, he was going through it as well. He was seeing everything I was. Him and I led him downstairs in the basement, and I had to go down there and get him because it was time to go to bed. Because I wanted him to be in bed with me because he would sleep in bed with me, but I wanted him to be in bed with me because I was seeing so much shit going on in my house. I was a little unnerved. So I went down into the basement to get him. He was sitting on the couch, and I said, "Come on, Shadow, it's time to go to bed." And he looked at me, and then he looked to his right-hand side, and I said, "What are you looking at?" And I looked at my left, and when I did, I saw what he saw. A wall of blackness kind of appeared in the middle of the room, and then a man walked out of it. And the
Mm.
man had this like big wide rim hat and this long black coat. I couldn't see his face, but I could see his facial features. And and he walked across the floor. Now he was walking in perfect stride. Now me, I'm used to seeing spirit all the time, so that part didn't bother me. But what I thought was strange was when he was walking, he didn't have any feet. And I thought
Mm.
that was kind of strange. And then he just walked right through the wall. And then again, they're not walking through walls; they're just walking because physical things mean nothing then. And then I turned back around, and that wall just went shut right down, and the room just turned back to light again. I was like, "Okay, buddy, let's go." Right over
Right.
there.
I was
I
enough.
picked because he looked
I
at me
was
like, "What the fuck was that?" And I picked him up and took him into bed. But then he was with me the entire time. My wife was away on vacation for 2 weeks, and then for 2 weeks I saw everything you could ever imagine in a scary movie happening in my house, like 6 and 7 foot skeletons walking around the house, and green and red mist pouring out of the walls, and these little creatures. What I don't know what the fuck they were coming through the walls, and people were coming through the walls and going out one wall, through one wall, and out the other wall. And I'd have this cloud that would come out of the ceiling, out of the corner, and it would come out red and green and yellow and blue each night. And then it would have red with black stripes and green with black stripes and blue with black stripes. And I saw a mist of cloud form above my bed, and then I saw these. It opened up to a wall of like window of blackness, and I saw two skeleton arms come out, and then it pulled out a skeleton body that was like scanning around the room and looking and stuff, and then it looked at me. Again, a weird part about that, it didn't have any hands, so it was just this part all the way up to the arm. But and then it went up to the ceiling, and then it disappeared. So yeah, but he was going through all of this with me. He witnessed it a lot of times. And he was always there trying to. I don't know if he was just he felt he felt he was safer with me, or maybe he was just trying to protect me at the same time. But I dedicated my book to him because I mean he was my best buddy. He was with me through thick and thin, and he was with me through the real bad thick of it. Yeah, I had to dedicate the book to him.
That's what's up. One of my viewers want to know how I met you. I'm gonna tell you how I met him. I'm always looking for different guests to have on the show, but at the same time, I do believe in spirits and things of such nature. And we started
Me
talking
too.
to we started talking to inbox, and literally, I just knew we need to have a conversation. He has a lot to say. He needs to be on the air. Let's go. And I asked him about his schedule, and here we are. That's how I
Yeah,
met him.
that was your soul telling you this guy's going to tell you the fucking truth.
And you definitely wowed us. I have no complaints. You definitely wowed us. And man, we
I
definitely
hope
got to get.
so.
We got
I
to get
just
you back on the show.
I want people to understand that they don't need to be afraid of all this stuff. There is some very negative, horrible energies out there, and I've seen the worst of the worst. I mean, you don't want to see them, but as long as you're remaining a positive person, as long as you're trying to be the best version of you and keeping negativity away from your life, keeping those horrible people away from you, You won't have to deal with these negative energies. They're not going to come around you. It's like two magnets. They can't hold the same space. They got to, as long as you're being positive, they don't want to be around positive because they have to collect negative energy in order to survive where they are. Because there's energy there, but the regular energy, it flows like rivers. And I see it. And they have to walk up to it and kind of cock their head back and go to like a dream state. And then they come out of it and they collect some. But these negative ones need more than that. And because they are negative, they need more negative energy. And where can they get negative energy? Here, because there's a bunch of shitty people walking around, or they can go hang out at a church and get a ton of negativity because everybody there's trying to prove to the other person, I'm a better Christian than you are. So when you're doing
Facts.
that, when you're walking around thinking you have to prove yourself and I'm better than you and you're better than me and all that bullshit, that's not positivity. That's negativity. That's you don't need that in your life. You don't need to prove yourself to anybody because neither God nor Jesus feel that you need to prove yourself to anybody. Only people think you need to prove yourself. God gave me my worth, not you. And if you want to challenge my worth, then you're challenging God. Have a great day with that.
Do you have any upcoming shows or events that you're going to either be actually at or just going to visit and enjoy?
Um, visit, enjoy. Yeah, I just go. I do one show up in Tucson, Arizona. I live in the southern part of Arizona. Tucson's about 70 miles away from me. I live about 12 miles away from the Mexico border, and I go to
Mhm.
Mexico once every 3 months. Uh, it's not like it is on TV, people. It's
I
just
bet.
not. Yeah,
I bet.
when I go to Mexico, the last time I was there, I saw maybe 4 or 5 people. That's about it. I go there to get medications for myself because I'm diabetic. The medication I get, if I were to get it here in the United States, costs $700. I go to Mexico, I get it for 110 bucks. So yeah, that's America. That's America taking all
Yeah.
your money away from you. So I go there and we walk through. I go get my medicine and I walk back. Nobody bothers us. It's like a ghost town over there. It's kind of weird. But I do this one show up in Tucson. It's called the Psychic Healing Fair. A friend of mine named Richard Schickel, he puts it on. So it's downtown Tucson. So if you're looking for that, just go on Facebook and look up the Psychic Healing Fair. It's on Facebook if you're in the area. I do readings there. I do 20-minute readings. I do a reading for 40 bucks, 20 minutes for 40 bucks. Not too bad. But if there's nobody else ahead of you, I'll do it for like 30 minutes and it'll still only cost you 40 bucks because I'm not trying to make a bunch of money. I'm just trying to help as many people as I can. So that's the only show that I do now. Just because it is once a month and I do enjoy doing that because I'm just helping a lot of people and they're very appreciative of it and we also sell our book there but as far as any other type of show we don't do any because it's going to start to get busy is once this new podcast this I mean I've been doing the show for 3 years but once this new network goes live then I know we're going to get very busy and I'm not going to have a chance to do that as much because it's just going to because it's a very demanding show where I have to put out a show once a week. So I'm going to be
Mhm.
busy doing that all the time. We have a bunch of shows. We have a bunch of shows we have in that we have pre-recorded. So we have about actually I have about enough shows right now that'll last me for about a year and a half. So that'll keep us caught up for a little while until we get some more going. But I know that they are planning on having me be on other shows as well, and possibly going out and doing some spiritual talks as well. So I may get very busy with that and not be able to do what I'm usually doing right now. But as long as I can go out there and do readings for people and help people, that's all that matters to me.
Okay. I definitely, man, I definitely appreciate you taking the time out, man. We definitely had a um, good conversation as well as enjoyable time. Come back anytime. Anytime you want to come back just to have a conversation, promote anything, let me know and I will make it happen. I definitely enjoyed the time and the conversation. And I know whoever didn't get a chance to watch this live, when they watch it later, they're definitely going to have the oohs and ahs, but it's going to be somebody out there that's going to say, he touched me. I guarantee you that.
I hope so. I hope so. And that's what I do. I try to go on as many podcasts as I can. I'm trying to put out the word as much as I can. I've been doing our show for about 3 years, and I've also been going on other podcasts too. So in the past 3 years, I think I've been on like over 200 shows.
Okay.
Yeah, I get out there more than an old whore does. So I'm out everywhere. Yeah, well, I gotta get that word out there. But yeah, I mean, you could just go on YouTube and you could look up my name, Spirit Medium Daniel Jackson, and you'll see how many shows I'm on. I'm all over the place, uh, but as long as people are listening, uh, that's all that matters. I don't. I'm not one of those. Uh, there's so many people out there. I saw somebody post something on Facebook the other day about you should only go on somebody's show if they have like 2,500 listeners. I was like,
Yeah.
no one starts out with 2,500 listeners. You start out with one. I said, so I don't, I said, that's an elitist type of thinking, and I don't want
Right.
any part of that. So, I will go on anybody's show. I don't care if they have one listener or if they have 1,000 listeners. As long as I get someone to listen, trust, and follow through, hear what I'm saying, then that's one more than I had yesterday. And that's what's important.
Facts, man. Definitely. Thank you. I will be in contact with you.
Absolutely.
Man, thanks for coming on. Everybody, grab the book, Amazon.com. Check my man out on YouTube. Hit him on Facebook. You want to know the truth? Hit his line. If you don't waste your time or his. Believe
That's
me,
right.
he's going to give you what you're looking for. I had a good time, man. Thanks for coming by. Come by
Thanks, man.
anytime.
Appreciate it. Absolutely. And for all your listeners out there, my last bit of advice is be good and don't do any stupid shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, the book is called The New Beginning. Daniel Jackson, everybody. Thank you, man.
Peace.
Well, you know what, people? Like I said, it was a different show today, and we always have something different for you. It will not be the same. I guess I want to say pattern. We got other things coming for you guys. I do appreciate everybody took a listen and took time to watch. As always, I am your host, Rain Rockstar. Make sure y'all get Stardom Magazine. I am on the cover of it. Y'all see that? Boom. Y'all can get it at stardommagazine.com. And our show is sponsored by Carolina Beverage, Real Cane Sugar, Craft Soda, all natural, fresh squeezed fruit. If you're interested in getting a bottle, a case, we have different flavors from orange to vanilla cream to lemonade to sweet tea to black cherry. If you're interested in getting some, check it out, carolinaMadeBeverage.com or carolinaMadeBev.biz. Tell them Rain sent you. And we got new people coming up this week. We're trying to get the show going back every week, maybe 2 times a week, trying to get more of the roundtable. If you have any questions or concerns or comments or anything that can help us out or advance us or would like to see, definitely hit me up on IG at Rain Rockstar. On TikTok, it's Rain_4977. At YouTube, it is Rain Spotlight 4977. And I am your host with the most. They call me Mr. What He Go Do Next, Funky Fresh in the Flesh. And I gotta go. I got laundry to do. Y'all be nice. Y'all be safe. I thank everybody for watching. I thank everybody for coming by and spending time with us today. Definitely want to thank Daniel Jackson. Y'all get that book. I read the book. It's a lot of good messages in the end. Y'all will definitely enjoy him. And I will definitely have him back. Y'all follow me. I see y'all on 5 with 5 at 5. Bring 5. I gotta go.